Hey guys, I'm Daniel from Dolier Media, and today we're going to be talking about what to expect when you start your nursing job or your respiratory job. Now, a lot of you guys are coming from school, or if you already have a job and you're going to be relocating, there's certain things that you might want to kind of get prepared for, and I'm going to kind of introduce you to that topic. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is death. Now, if you're new to the medical field, you're going to be seeing a lot of death and suffering. And the one thing that I would recommend in the hospital is kind of trying to detach yourself from the situation. Because you're seeing a lot of critical patients that are dying, a lot of patients that are going through some horrendous things. You'll see anything from cancer being diagnosed newly in kids or adults to tuberculosis in people that have huge families and everybody's crying. You're going to see a lot of things that are going to want to make you cry, and you're going to see a lot of things that is going to make you question not only your faith, but just everything in the world. And with that, I recommend looking at this as just a job. The moment you start trying to really get too attached to your patients and what's going on, it's going to wear you down. It's going to take a lot out of you. So the best thing to do is, yes, you have to be empathetic and sympathetic with the family members and also the people that you see, but try to not think about it as much as you can. Try to see it more as a job. You're there to make sure this person gets better. Not everybody's going to get better, but you're there to do the best that you can do and focus on the task at hand. So if you're over there to do some kind of a treatment, focus on that treatment. Focus on the direct effects of that treatment and try not to think too much about the whole situation. It's inevitable that you're still going to think about it. It's also inevitable that you're going to have to face the reality of some people dying in front of you. And the best thing to do in that situation is process it as if, again, it's as if it's your job, which it is your job. The moment you detach the personality out of it, it kind of makes it a little bit easier. That's probably the hardest thing about healthcare, is having to deal with seeing people constantly sick, constantly dying, and it just gets so much out of you. Now, in terms of a patient suffering, the best thing you can do is be somebody that's supportive and there for them. Imagine yourself in their shoes. You can't breathe or you're dying for whatever's going on, and you're in a hospital and these robots keep coming in and seeing you. You wouldn't like that. You'd want them to be a little bit more personal with you, talk to you, treat you like a human. So if you are going to a patient's room and they're going through some kind of thing or they're complaining about pain, sometimes it can get a little frustrating if a patient keeps complaining about the same issue or the same thing that's going on. But there's a real person behind that complaining. And what you want to do is imagine yourself in their shoes, and you'd want people to listen to you. You'd want people to respond and react. No matter how annoying it can be, or no matter how frustrating some things or some patients can get, you want to be there as their support. You want to be there to help them out. You're not only caring for their sickness, but you're also there for them as a human being. Another thing that you're going to see if you're starting a job, again, if you're just out of school or if you've already been working, there you're probably going to see somebody that you know, whether it's a family member or a friend, in the hospital sick with something. Lately, we had a pandemic, and there was a lot of people that I personally knew that I had to treat as patients. Now, that's something that I really wasn't prepared for. I didn't really have anybody that I knew for a few years until after I graduated, and then I finally faced it for the first time. It was really uncomfortable, honestly. My advice, if you see someone that's a family member or a friend, obviously there's HIPAA laws. You can't talk about it to anybody. That's a given. We're not going to talk about that kind of stuff. But on a more personal level, how can you deal with seeing somebody that you know that's struggling with something? They're maybe going through something. The best thing that I would advise you to do, and this is what I did personally, is just 100% be there for that person. The family member that I saw, I just held their hand. I sat there. I let them cry. I was in the room with them, and I really just let all their emotions come out and kind of console them as to the best of my abilities. If you see someone that you know and they're going through something, you are an expert in the field. You're there to kind of be a rock for that person, even though that's not something that you prepared for. In the moment that somebody you know goes to the hospital and they see you, they see a friendly face that they recognize, what you're going to do is you're going to be so much of a support system for them. You're going to be such a strong help in helping them get through what they're going through. So the best thing you can do is be there for them. Sometimes they don't want you to be there, just respect their wishes. But if there's somebody you know and you're treating that patient or you're treating that person, just talk to them, ask them if there's anything that you can do for them, and just go out of your way to make them feel comfortable. Now, there has been situations of people that I know that had to treat people that they actually couldn't treat. An example of that would be people had to treat their pastor, and because their pastor is somebody that's a more of an authority figure or a spiritual leader, they didn't feel comfortable necessarily doing all the things we have to do in the healthcare field if a pastor is intubated or something else is going on. In that situation, you can request to decline to actually have them and just ask one of your coworkers to take the patient. Everybody's going to be more willing to help. In that situation, it might be really hard to treat someone, and the best thing you can do is actually not intervene and not try to help, because you might make things worse. It might be very difficult every time going into somebody's room and seeing them nearly dying or seeing them in a coma or something else. Being there for them doesn't always mean you have to be the one that takes care of them. Sometimes you might not be able to take care of them, and it's better to be in the sidelines and just have somebody that you trust, have them take care of them. And finally, this video is a little short. I'm only kind of getting the major points that I could see. I've been seeing a lot of students lately at the hospital, and now that things are kind of opening up, we're seeing a lot more people going through, getting hired. There's been a lot of movement in terms of the medical field. A lot of new nurses that I'm seeing, and a lot of new respiratory therapists. And because of that, a lot of them are asking me questions like, what should I expect when I start working? And so I kind of just figured I'll make a quick short video on the things that you will expect if you're just getting out of school or if you're even looking into this field. So finally, the last thing that I would say is you're going to have people that have been working in a place for a long time. One of the most important things to expect when you're starting a new job in the healthcare field is that people already know each other really well, and you don't want to come in there and kind of not necessarily interfere, but you don't want to be the person that intercedes themselves and gets all braggy, or I don't know, you don't want to ruin your reputation. So when you're coming to a new hospital, people might not be friendly. People might not be very accepting of you. They kind of have to see what kind of person you are, what's your work ethic, just what kind of coworker will you be. So one of the first things I'd recommend is just be yourself, but just kind of stick to yourself. Don't necessarily come in there and just try to start all these jokes and make fun of people and do whatever you got to do. Just do your job. Show them who you are by your work ethic. That's going to be your best argument and best case that you can make for why you're a good person and why they should like you. Within no time, which maybe could be a month, could be up to 6 months, the people are going to start respecting you. Doctors are going to start respecting you. Things are going to be a lot better for you. Another thing you want to avoid is if you worked in another hospital or if you have experience somewhere else. Let's say you worked for 10 years as a medical assistant in another hospital or even this hospital. You're in a new environment. You don't want to go tell everybody how great the other hospital was. Leave the exes behind. You don't want to talk to your new relationship about your old relationship and how much better or worse it was. Just forget about your past job. If you get personal with the people and you get to know them, then maybe you can open up. But don't start a job roasting your old job. Don't start a job talking about how bad your employees were and how much you hated everybody or how much you loved everybody. People don't want to hear about that. You know what I mean? Best thing you could do, start a new job, start fresh, just work hard. Honestly, just work hard, things will get better. Now, in terms of nurses, I do know nurses sometimes, I am hating on nurses right now, but this is for a good reason. Nurses tend to be a little cliquey sometimes, and when new nurses come in, they're really mean to the new nurses. This is a very common thing that happens. I don't know why, but it does happen. So in my case, my wife's a nurse. When she just started her first job, nobody was mean to her, but it was just really hard for her to kind of fit in. So it took her maybe a month to kind of really feel comfortable with herself and with her coworkers. In cases of people I've talked to and other nurses, some nurses drive home and they're crying for their first few weeks because they're so overwhelmed with what's happening. This is both guys and girls. They get off work and they just need to cry because it is tough. You're in a new environment. You're doing things that you've never expected to do in your life. So don't be afraid to just open up and vent to somebody. Just open up, let the waterworks go, and you'll feel a lot better. Thank you guys for watching. Stick around for my next video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Thank you guys. Have a good day.